at Sierra School,
Head up at 6.
I didn't go through. Had my dream sheet gone through, and I went to the 160th like I was supposed to out of my second gig in Korea. But anyway, we won't go there again. That was one of those.
I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, because they had,
Never mentioned
because like the 160th, they were a special operators group, aviation
Okay,
wise.
we'll call the order the July 22nd meeting of the Tilton Northfield Fire Department Building Committee to order at 5:33. And right off the bat, I'm gonna make a request of everybody. And that request is that we have one conversation going at a time, because it is nearly impossible to transcribe people talking over each other. So I've always been a very strong advocate of never cutting anyone off. Everybody is welcome to speak their mind, but we just have to do it orderly so Lauren has a fighting chance.
All right, Lord.
Has everyone reviewed the minutes? I'll entertain a motion.
So move to approve.
Second? I'll second it. We have a motion to approve the minutes of our 7/1/25 meeting, and it's been seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Lauren. One abstention. Okay, so, go ahead.
List who's here.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
So you sort of brought the meeting to order, but you didn't.
Chief, Matt, Paul, Nate, Dennis, Tim are present. We're missing Derek, Lisa, Kevin. Is that right? Okay. So what I'd like to start with is reviewing our team's meeting call from a week ago. So as you all received the information packet from Lisa last week, that was the basis of the discussion. And basically, it was not a whole lot different than what we discussed here. There was some discussion about parking, about moving utilities, about fill, about compaction. And to me, none of them seemed overwhelming. They did not seem like any of those issues were make or break. One thing that I did do after Lisa commenting that, one of her comments last meeting was that the geotechnical survey of Park Street was based upon a single-story building. And I wanted to go through and verify that that was in fact the case, and it is. issued a report on September 8th of 2023, and it was a geotechnical evaluation and report. And in that report, Miller Engineering and Technology is the one that did the borings. And there is a section 2.2 of that document that says the project consists of constructing a one-story fire station building in the center of the site property with a footprint area of approximately 20,000 square feet. So that was what we asked Miller and Lorero to do 2 years ago. And why that's important is because the amount of compaction is determined by the fill, ground below the building. And there was nothing in their report that said that the underground underlayment or any fill being brought in would not be sufficient for a one-story building. It did not specifically say it would be sufficient for a two-story building because that was not requested of them. So, at the end of the day, after listening to me babble, the test borings that Miller performed in August of 2023 will support a single-story building on that site. So what I would like to do is ask everyone whether they feel it's in our best interest to guide Lorero towards a one-story or a two-story or both. Nate?
Does that mean that the site won't support a two-story building, or just that we have no findings whatsoever as to whether it would or wouldn't?
Correct.
Okay.
It will support a single-story building. Go ahead.
But I'm just curious as to, the gist of the conversation that y'all had with them last Wednesday. Because I thought that's what, Lisa was gonna pose all those questions regarding that.
She did.
I'm
And
just curious to the outcome of that.
so, first of all, Brian Worsham, who's the architect, said that he had not seen the borings or the geotechnical report yet. It was a report that they generated. So I was a little taken back by that. They were very receptive to Lisa's layout or concept, yeah, thank you.
So that's something I mean, they'd be willing to work with.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, okay.
And so this was the major hang-ups with a single-story building. Parking, underground utilities. And as far as I'm concerned, parking, yeah, so you have 16 places instead of 24. Is that enough? Shall we discuss with the Northfield Board of Selectmen about utilizing their space when required? And the underground utilities, if you look at Lisa's proposed layout here, it puts those utilities under the parking lot, not under the building. So,
It's not problematic.
correct.
Right.
It's only problematic if we move the building over those in order to expand parking or make the building longer.
It's only if we make the building can't be on there, the parking
Right.
can.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, that's a parking lot, no problem.
I see that.
Can I just
Was
have-
there, yeah, so Tim was involved in the call, so I'll defer.
there was, I got the sense that they had provided the information we had specifically asked for, but hadn't really looked outside of that box. Obviously, we didn't pay them to, we didn't ask them to. But when we pressed them, you know, that did sound like there was some leeway in, can we move the building a little bit more west? Can we rotate the building? Well, we can look at that. Could we move closer to the street for some of the building? Possibly. Can we fit parking in there with working the entrances different? They seemed like, yeah, there was options, they just hadn't spent any time looking at it. I think we pressed them a little bit for what their thought was for costs between 1-story and 2-story, looking at all the square foot savings, but without having done a layout of a 1-story. Because, you know, we said, all right, take the square foot of all the second floor rooms, come up with that number, get rid of the staircases and elevators, subtract that number, add the two together, and can you do that? Well, you might be able to, but you might need hallways or other things. But I walked away from that with, they thought that it would be similar pricing, or there wouldn't be a big price difference between going 1 floor or 2. Is how I walked away. Didn't know for sure, but more film, more retaining wall, less square footage, back and forth, you know, those things.
Well, one of my concerns with the 2-story building is that there's a lot of space on that second floor, which is there because it's the shadow of the first floor. And can we redo, and also that's what Lisa presented, right? Mm-hmm. Getting rid of the stairways, getting rid of the elevator, and consolidating all that onto 1 story. So I think if we tell Lorero we want to focus on a single-story building, that's what they'll do. So I think, you know, we banter around a lot and discuss all these different options. What we need to do is we need to make sure that, number one, we determine the path forward that we want. And number two, that it be communicated directly to them. Not, we could do this, but why don't we do that? None of that stuff. This is what the building committee wants. So I think having a direct line of communication from the building committee to Lorero is equally as important. Now, I spoke with the chief, and tell me if I interpreted any of this conversation incorrectly, please. The chief is adamant that somebody with fire department experience should be involved in this, and I agree. I'm not a firefighter, I'm not an architect, all right? But the chief also said that he would be happy if someone from this committee was also involved in those communications. In other words, to make sure that what we think we agreed upon is actually being transferred directly to them in a black and white manner. So I guess what I'd like to do tonight is, number one, say, are we content with a 1-story building, or are we looking for 2? And once we answer that question, can we start working on a layout that we think is viable? And third, is there somebody that from this committee or from the commissioners that would like to be included in these conversations with Lorero? So with that being said,
I support the 1-story station. I think it's a better idea if we can actually fit everything in a single story. And then does the district own the training area.
Mhm.
So theoretically, if we needed additional parking or something like that, we could potentially like rent some of this land over here that
We own
technically-
all that land too.
Oh, so we could just move the training equipment if we need more parking closer to the building, right?
Moving the training equipment would be very difficult.
You'd be better off putting a satellite parking lot, and then people
Yeah,
would walk.
that would be
It's
easier.
not that far away.
Much cheaper too.
I think for the 1 or 2 times per year that, I think it was 16 spots, is inadequate. That we just make an agreement with the town of Northfield.
Yeah.
It's gonna, the only time they use that lot after hours is during snow emergencies, when they're plowing at night. Otherwise, that building is vacated at 3:30 in the afternoon.
And the parking is used for tons of events at the park and everything like that, so it's.
Your biggest parking needs for volume would be during training events, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, Nate made his opinion.
Yeah, I'm all for the one story. The element stairs are an inherent hazard. Period. No matter where they are, and the elevator is. I mean, that's just an ongoing cost, maintenance, inspections, whatever. So I'm for one story.
And for one story, for all those reasons, plus, I never liked having that training room up on the second floor.
Yeah.
I'm all for one story. If the flow goes right and everything,
Okay.
absolutely.
Yeah, all right, and I'm for it as well, so it's unanimous. What we'd like to do then is work on a 1-story layout tonight, such that the chief can provide it to the railroad tomorrow.
Don't we already have the one that needs to be?
It doesn't have,
What?
it doesn't have a layout of all the rooms.
Okay.
Now, would we want the ones do that, or do we want
I
to give
think
them
we
the
could give them,
directive? Let
we'll
them-
give them a general concept and they'll make it so.
So, for instance, take our existing 2-story plan and say, okay, we want these 2nd-story rooms moved to the 1st floor. The dorm rooms, whatever necessary toilets, the laundry room, and the training room. Give them that much direction, and then it's up to them to lay it out.
And we did include a little bit of that in the conversation, because we talked about, no more than 2 90-degree turns between the day room, the dorm rooms, to get to the apparatus bay. That the dorm room should be on an outside wall, but I think that's required by code for egress. So we did have a little of that conversation already.
Yes.
So the chief and I just had a discussion, and we, just in general terms now, very rough idea of what we think might work. And I'm sorry I only have one copy, but this is the 1st floor layout that we've been working with. What we discussed was taking some of these rooms and move them forward. Taking the, I can't read that, day room,
Day room.
move that into this area. Adding dorms and toilets on the back wall and a central, training room.
Sounds good to me.
So what we would be adding would be in the neighborhood of, what did I figure,
22.
2,200 square feet, which this plan on the 1st floor is 12.5. So we would be making it,
14.5.
Which areas should actually be, would you think would be priority in locale to the apparatus space? Like the dorms? Or, I mean, I would think the dorms in the day room will probably have almost equal significance.
Yes. Other than that, it doesn't matter. We want to have, you know, and this is where we'll task Lorero with making sure that
Right.
that flow is appropriate.
Right. It's obviously not every area can be directly
Well,
accessible,
right.
but.
Right, and I think the the decontamination obviously has to be
Right.
where it is or somewhere similar.
Mhm.
So what they'll be working with, from my view, would be if you put the training room in there, how do you have to reconfigure the office space around those rooms that need to be where they need to be.
So of course there'd be no stairs, no elevators, and we would be picking up that space as usable space.
I mean, could we potentially move the entrance so that way we could have like the day room be like a square with a little L and then connect directly to the apparatus bay? Would there be any value in having them directly connected?
Well, as long as it's a straight line, and I think if we have it over here, I'd have to see what they come up with at first, but I think what Paul has there as a general concept, I think works.
So this, and the chief has copies of these for everyone.
What is that?
This is taking a step back. And I don't want to get hooked on this. I just want to use this as a guide, okay?
Manville Road.
So this is the layout of the Manville Road station that was proposed 4 years or so ago. And this has a square foot total of 1,400. Now, there are some issues with this, one of them being the size of the decon room.
That was the old decon mindset,
Yes.
not the modern decon.
Right.
Yes.
So, but, you know, this kind of gives you an idea of what it would look like with the hallways leading directly to the apparatus bay and the administrative office up front. Now, okay, sorry.
I should have brought my magnifying glass.
Yeah, I tried to print it on large
No,
paper,
no,
but
I
it
just,
wouldn't
this
work.
little room with like 8, is that a, conference
It's a
room.
conference
Yeah.
room.
Even when my reader's on, I can't read.
Why don't we just start with this?
It doesn't fit the property properly.
Right,
Oh.
right.
And my discussion with Paul earlier today is that, like, when I did the 2 fire stations in Tewksbury, after we did the first one, we said, this works really well, let's just duplicate it. But the site was different, so you had, and the access points were different, so, yeah, we used a lot of it, but we had to change a lot of it at the same time, and it ended up being really its own design, due to the site that was on was not exactly the same as the site that we built the other one on.
This is actually pretty cool. I mean, yeah, this is like a straight shot to the apparatus bay for
Yep.
everything. It's like,
And if you flipped it over 180 degrees.
That's what I said, we do this.
You could almost make that work.
Enjoy.
Head upstairs, but no, I think this is good. I think it's a lot of progress for a meeting.
So, Paul, do we,
We do not have a quorum now.
okay, I'm just gonna summarize where I think we're at. Can I stay for one more minute?
Yes.
So, so tomorrow when we get a hold of Lorero, and maybe somebody else, including the chief, could be on that call, the movement forward would be to have them work on a single-story Hart Street solution, so that we would then be able to have something to look at.
Next, my goal is for next Monday's meeting to have a floor layout and vote on that next week as to whether they move forward with that or not. Because here's one of the other things that came up in the team's meeting was we're running out of time. So we need to get Lorero working on a determine
The
that.
second thing I would ask Loretta about tomorrow would be, are they moving forward with putting together pricing for the St. Barn Road site?
They were given that direction.
They were given that direction, so. That's what I'm hearing us say. It would.
I agree with your summary. Yeah.
And I think it would be my preference that it would be if, it would be you on that call with the chief to Lorero. And would that call be with Tom?
Excuse me?
Would that call be with Tom?
Tom Roy,
Yeah.
or I'll,
Brian is the architect.
Brian's really the
Okay.
key point in our thing. Tom is like, if something is going sideways, he's like the goalie.
Do you CC him on all your correspondence?
I don't.
Wonder if you should.
I can. I will from now on. Anything that I discuss with Lorero, I'm going to CC Paul and anyone else that wants to be CC'd on it.
So that's a good question. Do you want to be CC'd on emails?
Sure.
That's fine.
I'll see the building committee
The whole
every
committee.
email that, the whole building committee, and I'll make sure Thomas Roy is on CC as well. So he's
Yeah, I got the impression that Brian was not moving in the same direction that we were at all times. Kind of like he needed a little bit of a push. I think we're all set on those. Thank you.
That'll facilitate these meetings too. I mean, if we just want to have questions, it'll alleviate all the questions.
Well,
Well, it'll alleviate some of them.
my goal is to come up with a set of questions at each meeting, have them delivered to Lorero in an unfiltered manner, such that we're getting the answers that we're asking for, without any external steering. So I think it's important that if we give the chief a list of questions, that they be very specific. Now, the next thing is we've been informally assured that parking in front of the DPW would not be a problem. Do you think we should formally ask the Northfield Board of Selectmen for permission on a long-term basis to park there in the event of 1 or 2 times per month we have a meeting?
I think that, yes, that conversation should happen. I don't think we're quite there yet.
Well, here's why I brought it up, Tim, because parking became a central discussion point several times during that meeting. And to me personally, parking is, yeah, we'd all like a Walmart parking lot, but it's not a high priority on my list, as long as we have adequate parking. So that's the only reason I asked to bring it up. And maybe there'll be pushback from, the town administrator or other selectmen, I don't know. But
another option, when you look at what we own there, the DPW uses a lot of our property in actuality, and maybe we could do a land swap, more road frontage or something for parking, and trading the land in the back that they use anyways. I'm just saying it's a maybe a discussion.
What kind of use? I'm just not familiar with how far back our property goes. Do they have anything on the property?
They drive over it.
They just drive over it.
Yeah.
Right.
They use it as they drive.
Right.
So, You can see where our property line
This is
right?
our,
Yes.
okay, so they're been cutting across here to go down.
Yes.
To this.
And I will admit, they've improved tremendously. They used to store all kinds of stuff on our land, but they seem to have moved it all off our property.
Well, I guess I'm perfectly happy having that formal discussion with them if that's what the committee wants.
Well, I think there should be a recommendation from the committee to the commissioners, and the commissioners should have that
I
conversation.
agree. Yep, you're right.
And so far, the conversations that I have had with Northfield, I mean, obviously, they're residents of the district. And, they have been supportive.
Absolutely.
And I think once we have a layout on the property and we'll look at it and say, you know, we're only gonna have X amount of real lined spaces or designated spaces, which means that we're gonna have overflow. You know, when we have a big meeting, so that would be time to have that discussion.
Other discussions to help with flow and stuff like that is maybe part of the construction process, we move this fire hydrant or this telephone pole or shrink the size of this island or something to facilitate the flow or the parking for the thing, and that's just part of the project rather than just assuming that that's just gonna stay the way it is. Maybe it's an impediment to part of what we're trying to do there. Impediment, I should say.
I was sitting at a loss for what you meant. I didn't realize how far back.
When we
were.
have training down there with the call guys on a Monday night, where do they all park? You're parking here?
Where's the side of the fire station?
Right
We're
here.
parking right here.
And if you don't all fit,
Park behind each other.
The stacked.
So I could be blocked in. I mean, I'm usually not.
you're all leaving together.
Right.
Is that right? And you could overflow down this little.
Yeah, there's been times people parked down there or along this side of this shed.
So if we're at the training facility, that the engine or something usually is traveling, we leave the ambulance here too, so we really won't park on the dirt road to it because
In case you need to
we,
leave.
yeah. But you can park beside the shed, you can even, I don't remember anybody parking over here, but
No.
we could.
I mean,
It's almost
In
like
the
that's the DPW.
30 years I've been on the fire department, and when there used to be 30, 40 call guys,
They were
I
parking,
mean, we'd be 2, 3 deep there at times.
overflowing into
Oh,
the
yeah.
highway department.
But that's when we had a call department.
Right.
Now we got 5 guys that show up.
And I think you had 6 or 7 the other night.
It wasn't long. I think it was.
I think you were there.
It was.
I wasn't in town, but I saw the debris all over my yard. It's like, what happened up here?
Did you guys respond? What was the call?
They said wires down and trees down. And
It was a mess.
There's a lot of
Lancaster
crap out
Hill.
of it.
30 minutes worth of. It was like 8 or 10 or 12 calls. Because Robinson was getting the phone calls after, but all I know is that I wrote down 10. Something like that. And it was less than 30 minutes of calls. And the trees that came down and stuff, it was like, how the heck did it rip a telephone pole down? Right next to a brand new telephone pole. I'm like, you guys couldn't have planned that one any better. Public service, and of course those guys, they drag their feet.
Okay, so I count 8 spots on the end. This is drawn with 16, but I guess we're proposing scrapping 8 of them where the utilities pass through. So there would be 8 there, 2 out front and 5 or 6 on the side, as well as handicapped out in front. So expanding the footprint of this building as Lisa suggested, will still leave us with 15 to 16 spaces.
Yeah, I think the one comment they did make over there is as the building goes this way, that parking lot ends up being in a lower grade, right? And so the bigger the grade is, the farther it has to be away to accommodate the slope down to it and the access back up to the building. But, I know, you can go that way a fair amount before.
Right.
you
Yeah,
come
the
out.
building can come out to here or so, and then the parking beyond that.
What I heard was they're concerned about the slope because you have to meet ADA requirements for slope.
Well, we have ADA compliant parking out front.
Yeah, I know. I have a
Well,
lot.
we have a handicap spot out front.
Yes, I'm aware.
Okay,
Yeah, I mean, oh god, some of those regulations are just.
They'll make it work.
They're all there for a reason, but you
Well, you have to put all your handicap, well, like right up next to the building,
Right.
and then they're worried about like a satellite parking lot meet and grade. That's like,
okay,
this is
Chief,
nonsensical.
once you're done making notes, I'd like to hear what your questions are.
Sure. All right, what I have so far is 5 points, not all for Laurel, some of it's for us. A one-story design for Park Street for next Monday for us to review. Where are we on pricing for Sanborn Road? All emails, communications will be copied to the entire building committee and Thomas Roy. Then I have possible future discussion or recommendation of the commissioners and the Northfield Select Board about parking or possible land swap. And then the last thing I have is possible island removal or renovation to make more space, or to make it for flow.
What do you guys think?
Is there anything else that,
I was just trying to take this, flipping it over and moving the entrance around to the front, trying to figure out if I can make that all work.
I'll just be excited. I mean, they're gonna be the ones, they're gonna plug it up, I don't know, if AutoCAD is the wrong,
no, I think,
wrong
whatever
word
the
now.
current
Whatever the
product
current
is.
version of that is, yeah. That's, I mean, they're gonna be able to do that, I mean, yeah, we can give a general wish list, but, I mean, when it actually comes down to plugging it into a footprint, and making it work, that's gonna be,
So,
because I know in our two-story design, we actually did narrow the building. The building can get a little wider then, if we're putting it on.
Front to back.
Front to back and stuff like that. So I think there's room to work with, and I think we'll give them that challenge, and I hope they come up with something, I know they will, with a little work, it'll work out.
And, you know, just a couple thoughts that come to mind when I look at this. And I guess I wouldn't have thought of putting the dorm rooms and the day room on opposite side of the building, but in doing that, you move them closest to the garages, and they're on they all have windows. And you put all the admin farthest away from the garages.
And the thing is somehow there's gonna have to be a hallway from the day room to the bunk rooms, at least.
Right, to get
So
from that
not-
side of the building to this side.
Yeah,
Go out
in,
the
in this
garage.
concept, you had to cut through the weight room. Or walk all the way around.
Right, but you're right. You know, taking that and tweaking it, because right, once you make that decon room bigger, obviously that might affect where it goes in the building. But yeah, I think that,
So is your plan to share this with Lorero?
I'll share it with them if they need any ideas.
So I see 8 apparatus bays on Manville Road. We have 6 plus 1 spare.
in this design, how are you planning to get to the far side of the apparatus bed? There's only one opening now.
Yeah.
So if you came out of here,
That was one of the
problems with that design.
Well, that whole stairway would go away.
Anyway, but I wasn't involved in that.
Or is that for a mezzanine? Was that
That's
for?
a mezzanine above.
Okay.
So the mezzanine in this building was above all these
So you-
rooms.
So if your roof is sloped, that's
Right, so
nice.
you'll still have stairs, if we have a mezzanine, right, but
Yeah,
the only stairs we should have in the building
the
for a
stairs were in
mezzanine.
the hose tower over here.
Right.
But anyway, alright, I digress, sorry.
God, we gonna put stairs and hose towers now? It can't be like Franklin, a ladder on the wall? Used to scare the crap out of me as an explorer. Climb up a ladder hanging on the wall, you get up on that little catwalk up there and run the hose up, put it on the hook, run the chain back down. Good old olden days.
Maybe that's what they're training
Now we have
ladders.
stairwells.
Good ladder training, right?
So Chief, are you gonna share this
I'll
concept as well?
Yes, if you wanna pass that to me, I'll scan that in and, I'll share that in the email, just so they have a general,
Like,
I'll
will-
probably write it in red over that, so that, I think they can see it better.
Do you wanna unmarked up one?
Well, the chief probably has an unmarked one.
I have plenty of unmarked ones, but,
Well, let me just copy my notes.
that's pretty much that.
Like with all the stuff in the middle, you move wherever.
Yeah, my original thought was taking everything from here and sliding it as far forward as we can. That creates a space in the middle where we could flip this way, so these are outside windows. This doesn't necessarily have to be outside, but this.
She hand that to the
And
chief.
then-
got the same. Wrote it all on that one.
Oh, he did.
Yes,
So I end up with 2 copies instead of you ending up with 2.
okay. I can print you some more unfettered ones if you like.
No, I'm good.
Yeah, and then the training goes in the middle. It's I think the concept, it's a general concept. What they come up with, we probably like that concept, but more detail for sure. Has to be.
I was in Pennsylvania and you drive by these beautiful volunteer fire stations.
Oh, yeah.
Out in the middle of nowhere. And they don't even do ambulance service, it's just a fire station with fire trucks.
I was just in New York. I rode my motorcycle to Lake George on Friday and turned around and went out there for lunch and
Beautiful.
rode back.
Yeah.
And some of the fire stations out there are like volunteer. I'm like,
Right.
size of
Me
Lake
too.
George, yeah.
Great system of government.
Okay, is there anything else you gentlemen would like to discuss?
Just wanna confirm meetings for August. Is it too early to, I assume we would have our 2, and exactly when would they be, and then, are we gonna want to have a few more if we can get things moving faster with Marrero getting data back to us? Was my question.
April 25th.
So our next meeting is July 28th, next Monday.
Right.
And then for August, we were doing first and third Mondays, right? Or second and fourth, I'm sorry,
No,
second and fourth.
we
I
got,
have August 5th, a Tuesday. It's in my calendar. Now, whether we approved it or not, I just know it's in my calendar. And then I think the 25th, August 25th.
which is the fourth Monday.
Is that okay with everyone?
It's just the first Monday that's not work for
Which is why we were doing the first Tuesday.
me. Right.
The 5th and the 25th work for me. Do they work for you, Paul? Matt?
Yep.
Sorry. Apologize.
Okay, August 5
It
is,
doesn't, you don't really look that much at it.
is a
If you
Tuesday.
saw a picture of him when he was a kid,
Yeah.
I just got some pictures dropped off at my house, and I put it next to me.
It makes
Of course, my sideburns were longer a couple days ago.
It was frightening.
Makes me wonder.
August 5 is a Tuesday at 5:30. August 25 is a Monday
It's
at
crazy.
5:30.
5th and 25th.
5th and 25th.
And after next week's meeting, if we need to add more, we can do so at that time. Or after maybe
Put it to
the
the
5th, if we need to add more, we can do so at that time.
Okay. Anything else? All right. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved. That's Dennis, by the way.
Tim will second the motion.
We have a motion to adjourn and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, gents. I feel like it was, even though it was a
What
short
time do we
meeting.
adjourn?
6:20. 6:20 p.m. I think so, and I guess maybe we didn't represent in that Lorero call. There were how many Lorero people there? 8, 7?
A lot.
There were 8.